Play Mark Spurl from YouTube.
Playing Mark Spurl on YouTube.
Hey guys, Mark here, and behind me is a little something I like to call the ultimate DIY gaming
Aw,
rig.
man.
It's not the ultimate rig because it's the best gaming rig you can own or because it looks incredible. No.
Has this ever happened to you? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you a few different ways in which you can mount your Google Nest Hub to easily rotate it or set it at a better viewing angle. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Tech with Brett, where I help tech work for you. So as you can see, this is one of the main problems that I've had with the Google Nest Hub is having to rotate it if I want to watch it in a different part of the room. So I want to find an angle that works great all the time. Now this is a really wide kitchen, so I am going to have to rotate the device if I want to see it in multiple angles in the room. One other problem that I've had, and you can probably see it right here, is that the lights are reflecting from the kitchen. So if I'm watching a video or recording like I am right now, you can see the lights are showing up in the video. And the last problem that I've had with the Google Nest Hub is the cable management here. It's just kind of all over the place, kind of lumped up here together. I can't remember if there were actual clips that came with this. I've either lost them or whatever, so it's really a mess. So through today, hopefully we're able to find a solution to all of these problems by testing out a few different mounts. So first up is the G4 wall mount for Nest Hub by Kiwi Design. I've used a few different Kiwi mounts and things for my Google Home Mini, so I'm really excited to try this out. So inside the box, you just have the mount and some instructions. Now in here, these are very important to follow as there are certain places in which you can mount this or not. So on the back of the actual mount is 3M adhesive, or you can actually screw this into the wall. Sadly, screws are not included. So if you do decide to use the adhesive, it's recommended you use it on tile, metal, glass, or laminates, and do not use it on painted walls, cinder blocks, concrete, texture surfaces, wallpaper, bricks, fabrics, or other rough non-stick surfaces. So here's the mount, and it is really well constructed. It is built out of this metal, has a nice soft silicone piece here, so it's not going to scratch the back of your Nest Hub. And so the Nest Hub will just sit in here and rest in there. There isn't any clipping or anything like that. Now, when you are moving this around, there's this little ball head that it's all based on, so it can move around, and it actually fits in really tight. And this is some pretty solid construction. So let's go ahead and get this installed by using the 3M adhesive. And then on the back here, you have the option where you can actually wrap up the cable. So this has some pretty good cable management where you don't actually see any of the cables. Now I do need to decide on where I'm going to install this, but first let's try it out with the Google Nest Hub. So it just sits in there really nice. If you tilt it too far forward, it kind of wiggles a little bit. So let's put it right over here. Now I could screw it right into the wall and that would work really good. I could put it on the tile with the adhesive. That would work really well. That's definitely not an option for screwing it in. Now, one other option would be to put it here under the cabinet. Now, that was actually represented in the Amazon listing, but putting it up here, it just wobbles too much. It didn't feel like it was going to be a very good place to put it, so I decided against that. But let's go ahead and put it right here on this little outlet cover, just so that it has a good adhesive and I don't have to screw anything into my wall right here. So that's where we're going to put it. Now, first we're going to wrap up the cable. So there's this one little slot in the little rubber pad here. So you just need to put your cable in half and pull it through. And then you would wrap this around the back and then you just put the cap back on and it keeps the cable in there really nice and tight. So after pulling off the adhesive cover, I just needed to place this on here, press firmly for about 30 seconds. And it is recommended to wait 24 hours before you install the Nest Hub, but I just waited a little bit and then tried it out. Also, once I put it on, I was able to easily adjust the wires so that there wasn't extra sitting out here. It was very simple to do. Now that it has dried for a bit, I just need to place the Nest Hub on there, and then the power cable is able to fit right here on the back. Now using this is very simple. You just need to kind of move it wherever the angle you want. So it works really good left to right. It also will go down a little bit so you can get it flat. I do wish it could go down a bit further. And then if you want to go up, you can go really far. I don't know why you would want to use this, but you could tilt it up really high, which is really nice to have. So moving this is very solid. You can pretty much move it any angle and it will stay there without any problems. Also, when touching the screen, it doesn't wobble or anything like that. It's a very solid touch and it's going to be very simple to use. And the great part about this one, of course, is you could mount it anywhere. So if you don't want it at this height, you could make it higher or lower or whatever you want to do with this mount. So it's very versatile, built out of solid materials. The only problem that I really have is it sticks really far out from the wall. It would be nice if there was something that was a little slimmer, but I have been very impressed by these mounts. So now let's move on to the Mount Genie mounts. So here there are two different options. One, we have the smart home shelf, and then we have the easy outlet shelf. Now both of these will require an outlet to use, and then you can get this swivel adapter for the Google Nest Hub that will sit on top of these circular mounts, and then it will allow you to rotate it in any direction that you would like. So first let's try out the smart home shelf. So this does require this rectangular decor outlet to be able to use. So if you don't have the rectangular version, you can get the easy shelf mount that should apply to any other outlet that you have. Now this can be placed on in any direction on the left or the right side. So we're just going to put it this way. And once it is attached, we then have this little bottom piece that you would thread the cable through. So you thread the cable through it, and then the cable goes up where it will plug into the Google Nest Hub. And so this is able to hide the cable. It does add some thickness to this little base, but I think it's a really good way to hide the cable. Now we just plug in the Nest Hub, and then it just rests right on top of this little swivel pedal stool. Now, because there are two different sizes, you do need to make sure that it lines up properly so it can easily rotate. And then once you have that, you are done installing this. And so it doesn't have any height adjustments or anything like that. It just rests right here where your outlet is. But it's nice that now I can rotate it in more directions. Now with the smart home shelf, it is a smaller circle, so you don't have as much rotation angle as the other shelf that we'll check out in a minute, but it is a very solid build. So when I'm touching the screen or moving it around, it's very sturdy. Now I do wish there was a little bit of an angle. So maybe if I wanted to tilt this up to be a little bit more flat, that would be a nice addition. But for the most part, this is pretty much what you see is what you get here, but it's really nice that it takes it off the counter. It's able to hide all those cables, and then it's able to give me that rotation that I'm looking for. Now moving on to the easy outlet mount, you can see the difference between the size of it versus the smart home shelf, which was much smaller. So that gives you a bigger rotation on this bigger mount. Now to install this, this can be placed on any existing outlet. So it comes with this extra little piece here that you will just place behind the outlet. Once you screw it in, it becomes firm, and then you will just attach the shelf right onto it. Now we're going to plug in the power adapter, and we're going to hide the cable the same way we did on the existing shelf. And now we just rest the swivel sheet for the Nest Hub right on top. And then this will use the biggest size of the shelf mount. Now placing on the Nest Hub, the first thing I did notice about this mount is it is a little wobbly, and that's because it's only attached to one part of the side of the back of this. Now maybe you could take some adhesive and attach it further to your wall so you would have some more sturdiness there, but that's where the shelf mount is much better, as it's very sturdy where this is a little wobbly. One great thing about this one, because of the bigger base, is it does have a wider rotation angle. So this can go up to a 30-degree rotation, where the shelf mount just couldn't get as much because it would end up hitting the cable on the back, or something else was in the way, where this has a little bit more room to move. So looking at this from a few different angles, it looks really good. I don't have the reflection from the light as much, but it is off the counter, so the kids notice it a little bit more. What are those? Balloons?
No.
So when using this and tapping on the screen, you will notice that it's kind of wobbling a lot more than we have seen on the other mounts before. So that is definitely the biggest downside to using this. If you're not touching it a ton, that may not be a problem. But again, here is what it looks like from the backside. So you can see kind of where that wobble is coming from, and maybe come up with a solution to fix that if this is what you're interested in picking up. Now looking at both of these mounts together, they both really accomplished what I wanted them to do. I wanted them off the counter, wanted them mounted on the wall, I wanted to hide the cables, and I wanted to rotate. So these definitely do the trick for that. I really like how this Kiwi is able to be very sturdy. No matter where I move it, it stays there. It works really great. And then I have the options to angle it up and down in some other directions versus the Mount Genie, where the Mount Genie is very easy to install anywhere I have an outlet, which is really nice to be able to do without having to make any holes in the wall. All right, so we've been using these mounts for the last few days, and it's been really nice to be able to have them up higher, mounted off the counter space. That was the very first thing that we noticed, is how much more counter space there was, and there wasn't all this clutter here. The second thing that I noticed is the kids knew that they were there now. So instead of hiding it here, the kids could then see it up higher off the counter, and then immediately pulled up the chairs and wanted to play with the Nest Hubs a little bit more. Not a huge problem, but that's just one thing I noticed. Now next, both of these mounts were really nice to be able to just have them up higher and that they could rotate. So first, let's talk about the Kiwi mount here. So I really like this design. At first I was really nervous that it wouldn't stick at all, but just after waiting a little bit while I set that up, I then put this on and I had no problem with it falling. Even trying to pull this off, it is very hard to do. Now, maybe that's just because the material of this outlet cover that I have it on that works really well. If I were to have put it over here on the wall, I could see that wouldn't have been as good. Of course, you can screw it in if there's any problems. Now, I could have installed it on the tile. I was a little bit worried about getting it off if it did stick so well, so I'm glad I tested it over here first to see how sticky it was. So it definitely would stick good on the tile. Clean it off first, but I just kind of was worried if it was going to rip off the tile when I took it off. I also really liked the cable management behind here. So I was able to easily wrap around the cables and hide them. Of course, I have this cable here, but if you had it closer to your outlet, you wouldn't even notice the cable was there. So as you can see, as I move this, as soon as I stop, that's where it stays, and it works really good. And then if I wanted to take the mount off or take the Nest Hub off, it's very easy to do that. Now moving over to the Mount Genie mounts. Now I tried two types. So we have the smart home shelf. So this is great because you can put it on any outlet. The only thing that you need to know about this one is the outlet needs to be decor. So it needs to be this rectangular size of outlet so that it can easily fit on there. But then once you have this, you can mount it this way, or you could mount it that way. So this was really good. The only problem with this one and the Google Nest Hub shelf is it didn't angle as much as it could. It kept running into the plug or the wall, so you didn't get as high of an angle if you used the smart home shelf with the Google Nest Hub, but it actually worked really well. It was very sturdy. It was at a great level. It would be nice if there was some type of Nest Hub shelf that I could tilt a little forward. So if this was a little bit more like this, that would be nice to have just as an addition, where this can only be the angle in which the Nest Hub is actually at. So next I tried out the easy outlet shelf. So the great thing about this shelf can be placed on any outlet. So that's the only downside of the Mount Genie, is they need to be by an outlet, but that's kind of perfect because you do need to plug in the Nest Hub anyway. The only problem that I have with the easy outlet shelf is it's a little more wobbly. So whenever I would touch it or press it, you can see it wobbles a little bit. Now I think you could fix this problem if you got a little 3M adhesive and you put it right back behind where this is kind of latched on, so it was a little more firm. I can see that working really well, but just out of the box, it is a little bit wobbly, so you may want to pick up some of that adhesive so that it's not always moving like this. And again, it's a nice big shelf. It's very sturdy. It can hold up to 2 pounds. I did try it with the Nest Hub Max. That's definitely way too big to be able to have on here. I don't think it would last very long, but the Google Nest Hub, this 7-inch version, works really well. And then rotating it is very simple to do. It works really quick and easy. I can do it with one hand, which is nice. And as you can see, when I do it there, it does rotate. So if you were in the market for a way to mount your Google Nest Hub, any of these 3 mounts work really well. I really like how simple this is to move it around. So as long as you have a good place to mount this, and it's great that you can screw it in anywhere, if you're able to do that in your home or wherever you're renting, that's definitely a way to go. These are also really great. I've really liked how simple it is to install it. Works with your outlet so that it covers it up as well. So if you're watching a movie on it or whatever, you don't see the outlet and it just looks really crisp and clean. So if you're interested in picking up these mounts, I'll leave a link to them in the description below. And if you have any further questions, please let me know in the comments as well. You can check out more videos about the Google Nest Hub over there on the side. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.